December evening. And we will have our normal procedure of the Pledge of Allegiance. We're very pleased to have Dr. Marlene Pedigo here this evening from the Eagle Creek Quaker Church, Friends Church, out on the far west side of our city. Thank you very much for being here. And we'll get into the agenda. We have a very special presentation with Mitch Frazier, the Shannon Russell Show, on a great update on the YMCA that everybody is so much looking forward to. So let's get started with our Pledge of Allegiance, please.
Let me look.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And I invite you to remain standing for prayer. And it's my joy to bring you greetings from Eagle Creek Friends, which is one of the historic churches of the city of Westfield, which has gathered for worship since 1840 in this community. Let us pray. Dear Lord, we just thank you for the multiple blessings that you have given to us individually, to our families, and to this precious community that we live in. We just pray, Lord, that you would continue to lead and guide our community and these servants of yours tonight. And may they sense your wisdom as they make these decisions, the best interest of us, and we just pray our blessing. In these things we ask in the name of Jesus Christ, the Prince of Peace. Amen.
Amen. Thank you so much. Dr. Keen, your meeting, sir.
Thank you. Clerk will call the roll to establish a present quorum.
Thanks.
Joe Edwards.
Here.
Bob Porquet.
Here.
Mark Keane.
Here.
Cindy Spalgeric. Here. Steve Hoover.
Here.
Chuck Lehman.
Here.
We do have a quorum.
Okay, thank you very much. There are no changes to the printed agenda, so we'll move on to approval of minutes. Do I have a motion for approval of minutes of November 25th?
So moved.
Moved by Cindy Spalgeric, second by Joe Edwards. Any questions, concerns about the minutes, changes? Seeing none, we'll do this by voice vote. All in favor of approving the minutes of November 25th, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
It was unanimous. We'll move on to claims. I need a motion for approval of claims.
So moved.
Moved by Joe Edwards. Is there a second? Second. Second by Bob Harkey. Any discussion, questions on claims? And we'll do this by voice vote. All in favor of approving claims, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
That was also unanimous. Moving on then to the special presentation. We've kind of talked about YMCA in this community for 15 years, so some of us are pretty anxious to hear updates and where we're at and where we're going. So I think Shannon, you're the one, you drew the short straw, so you're actually making the presentation? Not quite. Right, okay. We'll bring you up and then you can pass it off.
I might just stay up here for a while. My name's Shannon, longtime resident, lived in Westfield for 23 years. Had the opportunity to work for the Y for 21 years. We just wanted to bring you up to date on what we're doing with our YMCA project. So I'm going to turn it over to Mitch Frazier. He is the chair of our steering committee.
Now, if Mitch rushes through this, you see he has a very important day tomorrow. He's having his second child tomorrow. So he's at 5 a.m. It's all scheduled. So if he's nervous, quick, it's okay.
That's right. We will, if my phone rings and I bail, you'll know the reason why. So as Shannon mentioned, counselors, Mr. Mayor, thank you for the opportunity to be here sincerely. My name is Mitch Frazier. I'm a Westfield resident, and I do have the honor of serving as the chairperson for the Westfield YMCA Steering Committee. I'm joined tonight by a tremendous group of colleagues on our steering committee. We have roughly 20 folks on that committee, your friends, your neighbors, my friends and neighbors, all of us aligned around three key passion areas: mental health, physical health, and spiritual health. Our team has done some amazing things, and tonight I'm eager to share more about that. I'm also joined tonight by members of the YMCA of Greater Indianapolis, the executive team led by Derek Stewart. Derek, thank you for your leadership. Counselors, Mr. Mayor, what you may not know is the YMCA of Greater Indianapolis will be the parent organization of the Westfield YMCA. And what is so tremendous about Derek and his team Their level of commitment to Westfield is truly incredible. I mean, the amount of time that Derek and his team spend with me and with us to bring a Y to Westfield is phenomenal. Tonight, I have 3 key objectives, 3 things that I'd love to share with you. First, give you an update on where we are with the project. 2, share with you a little bit about our vision, where we're headed and what we're thinking. And then 3, give you certainly an opportunity to ask any questions. To orient folks, just to everybody understand where the YMCA is going, if you think about Wheeler Road and 181st Street, we are on the southwest corner in Wheeler PUD. And I'd be remiss if I didn't start out by thanking the Wheeler family, the incredible graciousness that they've shown us, the YMCA, of being a part of this project. This project simply wouldn't happen without them. So we're really grateful for what they've done, not just for the YMCA, but certainly for our community. Secondarily, I am elated with what's going on at that property. Many of you have driven by that site, I'm sure. It's been fun to see dirt being moved, construction fence go up, silt fence going up. Dirt is moving. What's being built is not the Y. What's being built is the Westfield Washington Schools pool. They're building a natatorium there. And through an incredible partnership with Dr. Sherry Great, her board, and the Greater Indianapolis YMCA, we've built an incredible collaboration that is making both of those projects possible. So as you look at the pool that the Westfield Washington Schools is building, counselors, that will soon be part of the Y, or at least connected to the Y. So the Y, in an unprecedented step, I think it's really important to hear, in an unprecedented step, the Greater Indianapolis YMCA is investing significant dollars in the school surrounding infrastructure around that pool, because ultimately, the pool will be connected to the Y. We're also investing aggressively into the shared wall. As you think about, in fact, we can go ahead and click over here, and you can see, not that way, imagine, if you will, a picture of a building. And this one, no. Where are we at here, friends? Oh, it went away. Okay, we'll keep going and we can catch up to it. So if you can imagine the shared wall the YMCA will be surrounding, there we go. The YMCA will actually be contiguous with the pool once it's operational. Super, thank you. This is looking at the YMCA, and if you think about where this is, again, they're at 181st and Wheeler Road, it's an incredible location. Right along the Monon Trail, right outside of Grand Park, gives us a really unique opportunity to serve our community. You think about the folks who can access the YMCA, can access the pool by simply hopping on their bike, simply walking. The YMCA is an incredible location. I'm also really delighted to share that it's not just a building that we're building, and it's not just a pool, although we are very excited about what this building will hold. This truly, our YMCA is a platform for change, is a catalyst for change. When we think about what's in this YMCA, we're contemplating roughly a 2-story facility. Think about it as 60,000 square feet adjacent to the pool. Inside that facility, you'll find things like intergenerational classrooms. You'll find childcare. You'll find gymnasium. You'll find an indoor track. You'll find a state-of-the-art fitness facility. What I think is so important as we think about the Y, and as the community here in this room and online hear about the Y, this is more than a gym and a swim. This is about creating a place where our community come together truly as a community. Being a place where we can serve populations that are either unserved or underserved or simply have no place for service, whether it be aging adults, whether it be veterans, whether it be a single mom, a single dad. With our location along the Monon Trail, you can imagine a day where one of the barriers we know of attainment of education is childcare. So that single mom, that single dad could come to the YMCA, and through a partnership in our intergenerational classroom, you can imagine a day in which somebody can come and get their GED, and the Y can take care of the kids while mom or dad does that. You see, we have 3 key visions. We have 3 key elements of our vision. That's mental health, physical health, and spiritual health. And our team is united, and we believe there's a tremendous opportunity here in Westfield to build more than a building, but to create change in this community. I'm delighted tonight to announce that in 2020, the YMCA of Greater Indianapolis plans to bring a temporary Y to Westfield to begin to bring this transformational architecture, this transformational programming to Westfield long before we build the building. You see, we believe that it's not just our mission, it's not just our vision to focus on mental health, spiritual health, and physical health. It's what we do, and it's what we do incredibly well. We believe by demonstrating our success in those three key areas, not only will we be able to serve this community, but we'll be able to bring folks along this journey with us. Bring folks along this journey, whether it be in business or whether it be throughout the community, who want to invest to make this Y possible. Now let me share just a quick update on where it is that we are in terms of our pursuit of bringing a Y here to Westfield. To date, we've raised approximately $6 million in commitments. We've secured our lead naming donor, and we've secured a number of donors who have taken smaller naming rights throughout the building, and there's still more left. You see, this project itself is roughly a $20 million project. And in a year, we've been able to capture $6 million in commitments. And we know with $14 million left, we're still in the early stages of the journey. However, I am confident, I'm optimistic based on the feedback we're receiving from audiences like this, that $14 million is possible. But it's going to take everyone in this room, everyone online, everyone who hears this story to unite around this vision of not just creating a great gym, not just creating a great swimming pool, but creating a place where we can serve those in our community who need served in a way that only the Y can do, through mental health, physical health, and spiritual health. I'm also elated to announce today that as we think about bringing this Y to life in Westfield, not only do we see in 2020 the plan to bring temporary space to Westfield, we also see in 2021 an incredible partnership with Westfield Washington Schools to bring our aquatics programming to the natatorium in the Westfield Washington Schools. Counselors, Mr. Mayor, it is truly an honor to serve this community in this capacity. We are blessed to be in a community with people who care, with neighbors, with friends who absolutely want to see not just a building be created, but to see change happen and transformation occur. That is what we're doing at the Y. That is what is possible. I think one piece before I open up for questions, because I know it's probably the first on your minds, and I know many here in this audience will have the same question, is when? So you raised $6 million, you have $14 million. When's the rest coming? I will tell you, our ability to open is not going to be built on a calendar. Our ability to open is going to be based entirely on the generosity of this community. The YMCA of Greater Indianapolis has invested aggressively, as I mentioned. We've put dollars to work already. We've already raised $6 million. We've already secured our lead naming partner, and we're bringing this temporary space along with aquatics programming to Westfield. It's now up to us, leaders in this community, in government, across the community, to come together to bring this Y to fruition. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have, counselors.
And council members have questions? Comments?
What's the plan for the temporary facility?
That's a great question, Counselor. So we are in negotiations today, and I can't go too far into those, obviously, due to negotiations, but our intent, you think about the programming that we have today from the YMCA, and what the YMCA is great at is you can think about these kinds of things that would be in Westfield. Think about summer camp opportunities. Think about bringing some of that physical fitness, physical education, really focus on physical health. We also see an opportunity to bring some of the older adult type programming here. What I love about the YMCA, as I've gotten to know more about a counselor, is, this isn't just you open a catalog of programming and you turn to page 17 and that's what's here. The Y is phenomenal about understanding the challenges that exist within a community. You look at what's happening in Pike Township, Marion County, and what the Greater Indianapolis Y found was there was a need to serve veterans. I love this story. As a veteran myself, it makes the hair on the back of my neck stand up. What they found was the veterans needed a way to be able to access care, mental health, physical health. And so for the first time in history, the Y said, you know what? Let's put a VA clinic inside a Y. How incredible is that? You see, I believe we have the same opportunity here through a temporary space, clearly, to better understand what this community needs, but through our long-term operation on Wheeler Road as well.
Any other questions? Seeing none, Mitch, thank you very much.
Thank you. I
Appreciate
appreciate
it.
it, Councilor, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
I will just make this statement too. We do record all city council meetings from beginning to end, so if anybody in the community would ask any of the members here, what do you know about the Y, you could always refer them to the city website and they could view this introduction. It's a nice 15 minutes of where things are at and a little bit about where they're going. So again, appreciate that, Shannon and Mitch. Thank you very much. Moving on to business. We are old business. First item of old business, ordinance 19-26, Legacy Oaks PDU. Dane.
Good evening, Council. For the record, Dane Crabtree with the Community Development Department. Before you this evening is the proposed PUD known as the Legacy Oaks PUD, formerly known as the Landings at Village Farms, which would be located at the northeast corner of 146th Street and Oak Ridge Road. This item was introduced at the July 8th City Council meeting and had its public hearing at the August 5th Plan Commission meeting, after which significant revisions were made. Changes made to the PUD post-public hearing include but are not limited to removal of the entirety of the commercial area, an additional proposed use of a public park for the area south of the pipeline, which is known as Area B. The number of residential lots has been reduced from 94 to a maximum of 67. Minimum lot size for those residential lots has increased from 6,000 to 10,000 square feet, and minimum square footage for homes has increased from 1,600 to 2,300 square feet. The revised PUD received a unanimous favorable recommendation at the Plan Commission's October 21st meeting, and this item is up for recommendation this evening. John Dobashewitz of Nelson Frankenberger is here this evening to give a presentation highlighting the aforementioned revisions, along with several others that have been made to the proposal. After this presentation, he will be available for questions, as will I if there are questions of staff.
Good evening, members of the City Council. For the record, John Dobashewitz with Nelson and Frankenberger. We represent the petitioners, Pulte Homes of Indiana, LLC. With me this evening is Dave Compton and Rex Ramage on behalf of Pulte Homes, as well as Jim Schinner, an attorney with our office. As staff described, the matter before you this evening is the Legacy Oaks PUD, formerly the Landings at Village Farms. This matter was introduced in July to the City Council, and a public hearing for the matter was held on August the 5th. After the August 5th Plan Commission meeting, the applicant reviewed all comments and began a process of plan revisions, including 2 focus group meetings with residents, a meeting with members of the public to solicit feedback on the proposed plan revisions. We believe the project modifications and enhancements were received favorably by those who attended those focus group meetings, as well as those other individuals from the public. Additionally, a detailed summary of the proposed modifications was forwarded to all Plan Commission members and City Council members on October the 8th. This was in advance of the October 25th Plan Commission meeting, at which time the Plan Commission forwarded a unanimous 9-0 favorable recommendation on the PUD request onto the City Council. The illustration on the screen on the left is the original proposal, and on the right is the revised proposal. The revised concept plan now limits development of the real estate to single-family residential and the potential for a public park. The commercial component, as staff indicated, was entirely removed. The number of residential lots on the concept plan you see illustrated on the left was reduced from 94 lots on the original concept plan down to 64 on this plan, with a maximum of 67 lots if the area south of the pipeline is not advanced as a public park. As a point of reference, the maximum total number of permitted dwellings, 67 units, is equal to the number of lots which would be anticipated under the current SF2 residential zoning standards. Due to the concept plan changes and underlying zoning standards proposed for the request, we've reduced the request down from SF4 residential to an SF3 classification for the area to be developed north of the pipeline, and the area south of the pipeline would remain zoned SF2 as the base underlying density and development standards requirements. The minimum lot sizes, as staff indicated, were increased by over 50% from 6,000 square feet to minimum of 10,000 square feet. And the character along Oak Ridge Road was maintained with homes facing Oak Ridge Road with the presence along that street through the use of a frontage place. A public park with restrictions was identified as a permitted use in the area south of the pipeline. Just to highlight again some of the proposed changes in response to public comments regarding home size and desire for more ranch-style homes, the applicant changed the proposed home product series. The proposed product series now being proposed for the location is the same series which Pulte offers today in the Lantern Park community at 161st and Union Street. The character exhibit examples shown are included in the PUD and also shown here. Changes include an increase in the minimum base square footage for homes from 1,600 square feet as originally proposed to 2,300 square feet, and the product series and home square footage enhancements have resulted in an increase in the expected average price from the low 300s to the mid 400s in price for this series that's proposed now currently under the PUD. For Area B, that area generally south of the pipeline, a public park is noted as a permitted use only with restrictions on how the area may be developed, including a list of prohibited types of uses in the event the city decides to advance development of Area B as a public park. Standards and prohibitions have been put in place to govern the park if the city chooses to advance that plan. More specifically, if developed, the park site may include a parking lot, benches, and bike maintenance station as generally illustrated on the plans on display currently, which is included as Exhibit G of the ordinance. Likewise, restrictions on the park space, if advanced, would prohibit certain improvements, including restrooms or other enclosed buildings, active sport courts, or playground equipment based on feedback we received from the surrounding neighbors, again, if that were to advance as a public park space. In conclusion, the applicant has worked diligently over the last several months with the public and staff to address all comments which have been received. The result is an ordinance which the Plan Commission forwarded to the City Council with a unanimous favor recommendation on October 21st. This evening, we would respectfully request adoption, consideration, and approval of the ordinance by the City Council this evening. With that, I'll conclude. Be glad to address any questions the council may have. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Do you have a motion on ordinance 19-26?
I would move that we approve ordinance 1926, the Legacy Oaks PUD.
Motion to approve by Bob Harkey. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Steve Hoover. Discussion.
I have a few questions. John, can you help me understand? I'm aware that the city does not want to accept this as a park and develop it as a park at this point. And so most of the language in here speaking to Area B does revolve around it being a public park. And at this time, we don't choose to do so. There's 3 lots that could be developed there, correct?
Correct.
And where would those be and how, what would the standards would apply?
The standards that would apply are the SF2 zoning standard requirements. It was communicated to us earlier today that what you've just conveyed to us is likely, the city, the position has that it is not likely that it would pursue development of the site as a public park, and that in the alternative, 3 lots would be permitted on the real estate under the SF2 zoning requirements, which would be reviewed by the Plan Commission as a public hearing matter when the primary plat was filed for that area of the real estate.
So those 3 homes, though, would not have to comply with the other series and stuff that you're doing for the rest of the project?
They would not have to be that series of homes that's Pulte is planning on developing on the real estate. That is correct.
So straight SF2,
Which is what the zoning is on the real estate currently.
but given that it's on a primary arterial, it would have to have additional
The
architectural requirements,
Right,
correct?
the development standards of the underlying zoning would still apply, and the UDO has those provisions in that point standard management system that require enhancements for those homes within certain proximity to the perimeter street, and those standards would apply.
Okay, and could you help me understand how those 3 lots would be accessed?
The 3 lots would be accessed either through an easement from the existing internal streets, or more likely it would be accessed via a public street connection or private drive connection to 146th Street.
Okay. What happens if it doesn't, those lots never get developed? Pulte owns the property, and I'm assuming transfers ownership to the HOA, correct?
It's not anticipated at this time. At this time, it's anticipated that the current owner would maintain ownership of that parcel of real estate, and they could develop as many as 3 homes on the property.
Okay. Thank you.
Other questions? Clerk, please call the roll.
Joe Edwards,
Yes.
Chuck Lehman,
Yes.
Bob Corkay,
Yes.
Steve Hoover,
Yes.
Mark King,
Yes.
Cindy Spalgeri.
Yes.
Motion carries 6-0.
Thank you for your time this evening.
Thank you. Next item, ordinance 19-61, the Monon Hills PUD Amendment 1, Jonathan Dorsey.
Good evening, council. For the record, I'm Jonathan Dorsey with the Community Development Department. For your adoption consideration tonight is the Monon Hills Plan Unit Development Amendment 1. This project is located at what is currently 1111 156th Street and totals approximately 8 acres in size. This amendment intends to address the architectural standards for garages and re-implement the UDO standards for the common area. This change will assure that all garage types, barring underground parking, such as allowing rear load, front load, and side load courtyard garages, and re-implementing the setback to 10 feet, applying only to the front load garages. After the dedication of zoning, originally a new section was added for the common area, which is the pond on the site. The original zoning removed all UDO standards for common area. This will re-implement that UDO standard to ensure that HOA can maintain ownership and any residents on the properties can enjoy the pond. This item held its public hearing at the December 2nd Advisory Plan Commission and is coming before you with a unanimous favorable recommendation. Petitioner Noah Heron is here this evening, does not plan on making a presentation, but is available for questions as our staff. Thank you.
Thank you, Jonathan. Do I have a motion on resolution, on ordinance 19-61?
So moved.
Motion by Cindy Spillier. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Steve Hoover. Questions, comments? Seeing none, please call the roll.
Bob Corkay,
Yes.
Chuck Lehman,
Yes.
Mark Keane,
Yes.
Cindy Spillier,
Yes.
Joe Edwards,
Yes.
Steve Hoover.
Yes.
Motion carries 6-0.
Final item is ordinance 19-63, 2020 elected official salary. I will introduce this one, or I introduced it last month. Just to repeat that we've already approved salaries for all workers of the city, all the positions. The average salary increase was 2.6, which is the same one being now recommended for our elected officials. So I would ask that we approve the ordinance 19-63 to grant the 2020 elected officials a 2.6% salary increase over the present salary. So I'll make that motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Joe Edwards. Any discussion? Seeing none, clerk, please call the roll.
Chuck Lehman,
Yes.
Bob Corkay,
Yes.
Mark Keane,
Yes.
Cindy Spillier,
Yes.
Joe Edwards,
Yes.
Steve Hoover.
Yes.
Motion carries 6-0.
Thank you very much. On to new business, resolution 19-132, transfer funds to facade improvement program. Amanda.
Good evening, President and members of the council. My name is Amanda Rebedew with the Economic Development Department. At our most recent facade improvement grant meeting, the group identified an opportunity for the facade improvement grant funds to be refunded. Speaking with Councilman Edwards, our council's representative to the committee, group thought that we should bring this item to the attention of the council and also provide an update so the council can appreciate how the funds have been invested in the community. So to date, as you know, the program was established in 2011 by an appropriation from council's budget of $50,000 to provide assistance to local business owners refurbishing the exteriors of their businesses and increase the overall beauty of our downtown area. To date, the program has assisted 18 local projects, and we currently have 1 project in process. These are the after pictures of some recently completed projects on State Road 32 and Cherry Street. $63,676 has been granted to local business owners for improvements such as repainting, new windows, sign replacement, parking lot improvements. These before and afters are some of the from the former guaranteed rate building that was completed in 2016. The city has not only benefited visually from the implementation of this grant, but has also seen an investment of $193,560 put into our downtown. This program is designed to be a 50-50 match, but in actuality, for every dollar of public investment from the grant fund, $3.23 has been invested by the private sector. The proposed resolution 19-132 would allow $10,000 to be transferred into the facade improvement grant fund, bringing the total fund up to $12,951 for 2019. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
I think this is a pretty necessary program. We have a lot of people that struggle with some of these things, and if we can incentivize them with a little money and they put more money into it, why, it's a win-win for the city. We budgeted $15,000 for this, and we're only requesting 10, so this brings us, would bring our balance up to $12,951.
With that, do I have a motion on the resolution 19-132?
So moved.
Motion by Joe Edwards. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Cindy Spillier. Any other discussion? Seeing none, clerk, please call the roll.
Cindy Spalgeric,
Yes.
Mark Keen,
Yes.
Bob Portkey,
Yes.
Steve Hoover,
Yes.
Joe Edwards,
Yes.
Chuck Lehman.
Yes.
Motion carries 6-0.
On to resolution 19-133, real property abatement for 16466 South Park Drive, the new pro containers.
This abatement request is for new pro containers, an existing business over there now, and they're going to put a 10-year real property tax abatement for an 11,000 square foot addition on the northeast side of their building. They're committing $780,000 investment in addition of 3 new employees, and they presently have 21 employees in that area. They received tax abatement in 17 for the current building, and they promised 16 total employees. They've already exceeded that. The site is in an economic revitalization area, so abatement can be considered and approved this evening. The owner, Jeremy Derringer, president of New Pro Containers, is here. I don't think he intends to speak unless he wants to. You're welcome to speak, sir, if you wish. But I think it's a good deal for Westfield. It's got a business we need to attract, and I would so move that we approve this tax abatement request.
Thank you, counselors. I appreciate you considering it. And I know you said that I didn't have to speak. I just wanted to quickly just share some photos of the property and what we have going on. We've had growth that's exceeded our expectations from when we moved here. We have a lot more growth coming. One thing I'm in final contract negotiations on is to bring a business from New Jersey. There's a $1 billion company called Playmobil. It's a toy company, and they gave us exclusive rights to distribute one of their core products in the U.S. So that was a huge thing that we're going to go into here for 2020. I'm in the final contract negotiations, but verbally it's been agreed upon, so I'm expecting that. But even without that, we've had over 30% growth year over year, every year since I took over the business in 2015. My family, my son's here tonight, Gunnar, to kind of get the experience of all this kind of stuff. And he's in the business with me all the time, looking at these kind of things. One thing to know is we really care about our employees, so it's not just about growing a business here and providing some jobs. We want to provide exceptional jobs for everybody at every level in the business. So I think we have a lot of things that are pretty extreme on the employee benefit side and pretty aggressive profit sharing plans and things like that for everybody that works for the business. So we hope to create lifetime employees when they come in. We let everybody bring their dogs. There's a lot of things. So we put one of the pictures of some of the puppies. That's the warehouse manager, Tony. It's been with the company for 13 years already. So thank you for considering our project tonight. Appreciate it.
We have a motion for approval on resolution 19-133 by Joe Edwards. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Cindy Spillier. Any discussion? No discussion. Clerk, please call the roll.
Chuck Lehman,
Yes.
Bob Portkey,
Yes.
Steve Hoover,
Yes.
Joe Edwards,
Yes.
Cindy Spalgeri,
Yes.
Mark King.
Yes.
Motion carries 6-0.
On to Resolution 19-135, the Wheeler Landing curb cut. Caleb?
Actually, I think we're just going to hear from the petitioner on this one.
Okay.
Thanks.
Ladies and gentlemen, for the record, my name is Nick Churchill. I'm here tonight on behalf of the Wheeler family and the Wheeler Landing Project. Caleb actually did give me a heads up that he wasn't going to be in attendance tonight, so we are generally prepared. What you have before you is a resolution approving 2 new curb cuts on State Road 32. This is in response to the State Road 32 overlay and the requirements that council approve any new curb cuts. Both curb cuts have been reviewed by NDOT and preliminarily approved based upon these minimum standards of separation between the existing intersections of Wheeler Road and State Road 32 and Grant Park Boulevard and State Road 32. Exhibit A is what's currently being shown on the screen. We also have Exhibit B, which is the letter of preliminary approval from NDOT. The exhibit to that Exhibit B is also the exact same site plan. So what this does is it establishes that minimum distance so long as those curb cuts do not get any closer to either Wheeler Road or Grant Park Boulevard. NDOT is in support of their locations. This is going to be incredibly helpful in the marketing of the property. Users want to understand their access, and so that's why we're here today, for you to hopefully consider the adoption and approval of this resolution. Thank you for your time.
These are right in and right out only.
Yes, sir.
Okay, do I have a motion on Resolution 19-135?
So moved.
Motion by Joe Edwards, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Bob Harkey. Any further discussion or questions?
I have some issues, and I realize why you're doing this, and this area is going to be pretty tricky soon. One of the major reasons we did the State Road 32 overlay was to try and reduce, eliminate as many curb cuts as possible. And when I see something like this, and we just saw at our last meeting, Meyer, and we're adding more curb cuts and not taking them away. And that's something that troubles me, because we did the frontage road, we're doing the other road improvements for a reason. And I realize that there's probably good things that could happen by doing this, but at the same time, I think we're gonna create a lot of problems too. And I'm worried about accidents. There's already enough going on there, and now we're gonna have basically an additional lane going in, correct?
Yeah,
At 2 different locations?
Yeah, one thing to exactly what you described, you could see the deceleration lane that NDOT is requiring on the approach. And so hopefully that would mitigate some of those concerns where you have the ability for people to actually exit the free-flowing traffic on State Road 32 and decelerate in order to make that turn. That's a requirement from NDOT, and it's based upon the speed of travel.
I think there's gonna be some unintended consequences, and that's what I'm concerned about down the road. If anything, I really wish maybe there was only one in this area, this section. To add 2 really kind of bothers me.
Okay.
Other questions or comments?
I would be interested to hear from our Public Works as far as what their thoughts are on whether this benefits traffic flow overall, or whether we feel like this will be a safety issue, and whether one might be better than 2.
Well, unprepared, I would say no. From a safety issue perspective, it's not. I would say it creates less of a safety issue because they do have appropriate decel lanes. If you look at the one that was approved at Speedway, it's, I don't have a ruler, but probably half the decel lane. And some of that is the proximity to the signal and the speed of traffic there. But from a right in, right out perspective, from a traffic value, I think it helps. Otherwise, channeling everything to these signals, and it increases the volume of traffic substantially. The right-in, right-out option reduces some congestion at, well, what will be two pretty congested signals already.
Thank you.
Whether one works better than the other, or one works better than two, I don't have a good answer for you for that.
Well, if I can say, Jeremy, I think that this is not dissimilar from the Meyer discussion we had last week, in that the right-ins and right-outs, and there's a huge difference between full access and right-ins, takes the pressure off of not only the signal there on your right, but the intersection at Tournament Trail. Because if the only access into this area is turning north on Wheeler and then turning left on Tournament Trail, this helps relieve just that movement there alone. So by having a right in, you're actually eliminating the dreaded left turn at Wheeler and Tournament.
Okay, I agree.
And I think that's, NDOT's pretty discriminatory on this themselves.
I mean, when we were looking at 32 overlay, our major concern was full access, where there are too many full access areas, and that does definitely cause safety issues and congestion. The right-in, right-outs, if they are appropriately decelerated, which these appear to be. And the other thing I would ask is that when that island goes in for the right-in, right-out, that be as aggressive as possible to keep people, because people are going to make some left turns here, particularly in lower traffic times, which, I mean, I've seen much worse than this where people do it. So anything we can do to extend these curbs out to make that very difficult would be, I think, much appreciated on my part, and I think could potentially cause some safety issues.
Yeah, and to add to that, I believe, or at least have been told, is that NDOT is looking at a median project in this whole area because of the very problem you're describing, so.
Yeah, that would be the best way to fix it.
Yeah.
That is
Make 'em
very
jump
well.
the median.
So that's very welcome news, because if Steve hadn't brought it up, I was going to say the same
Yep.
thing. We really pushed that point on Meyer very
Yeah,
hard last
and-
week, that we need to make this as difficult for the drivers that want to misbehave as possible.
Yeah, and we all completely agree with you from a public works perspective. We have limited control here, but our crew at NDOT has been really good at working with us, getting our opinions and taking our input, and they know that they need to do something in this general area for a median.
Thank you, Jeremy.
As much as possible.
Other questions or comments? Not, clerk, please call the roll.
Joe Edwards,
Yes.
Steve Hoover,
Yes.
Chuck Lehman,
Yes.
Bob Forte,
Yes.
Cindy Spalgeri,
No.
Mark King.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-1.
Ordinance 19-64, the 2020 updated policies, procedures, and fees. Tammy?
Good evening, Council President, members of council. For the record, my name is Tammy Havertz, financial strategist. Ordinance 19-64 is the annual update of the fee schedules and employee policy manual for 2020. Tonight is the introduction, and adoption consideration will be on December 19th. Most of the changes are clarifying language changes as well as fee updates in accordance with the law. There are a few increases in fees for public works and for fire. There are some additional changes anticipated in the policy manual that will be updated by legal before adoption. I'm available to answer your questions at this time.
All right, this is an introduction, so questions or comments?
I had, there were several, particularly in Public Works, and several large fee increases. I would be interested to know if, one, roughly when we had our last fee increases, and secondly, are our current proposed fees comparable to surrounding communities?
Yeah, so for the record, Jeremy Lawler, Director of Public Works. I was giving a heads up that this question may come up, so I did as much research as I could from the pew back there. I believe the last time these fees were significantly increased or adjusted heavily was like 2007. So we've been over a decade since these fees have been adjusted. When we were deciding what the fee would be, we did review the neighboring communities' fee schedules. We are at or below the other county communities for the same services.
With the increases?
With the increase, correct. Yeah, and our main goal has always been to cover the cost of manpower that is generated by this plan review activity. And we are doing that currently, but there are increasing demands on our engineering staff and additional time required with the new developments and the new standards, so we feel it's necessary.
Thank you.
Tammy, there's one thing on here, an expedited plan review fee option 3. What is that?
So that is, obviously, at least in the opinion of some of our developer friends, we can't move as quickly as they would like us to. A few other cities, Carmel being one and the city of Indianapolis, both offer an expedited plan review fee. What that is it can be two different things. If we have the capacity to do it, I can assign either the city engineer or someone to do that review ahead of schedule compared to the others, or the $3,000 fee, so should they elect to pay it, we can use to hire a consultant to do our plan review for us. And effectively, that gives them a 7 business day turnaround on their review if they decide to do it.
So, and that's kind of in line with other communities?
Yeah.
What's going on?
And basically, we got an estimate from a consultant of what they would charge us. It's roughly $120 an hour. The language breaks down that it's an initial review with comments and then a second review in hopes that they would get it done in 2. Sometimes it takes them 7 or 8, which is the reason for one of the other increases. But then any time spent after that second review would be billable at an hourly rate of $120. So a completely optional service to try to provide better service to the community should they be willing to pay extra.
Probably won't be as popular here as it is in other places, but in my day job and the permits that I have to go after, that's what I do almost every time is buy an expedited review.
Yeah,
Because
the state,
you need the predictability of when you're gonna have that permit to be able to make your schedule.
The state allows the same type of service for state building permit review. It's quite a bit more than that. And other agencies throughout the state do the same thing. So, does that answer your question?
Yep.
Other questions, clarifications?
I had one, and maybe Kevin, you could help me here. The plan review fees on the rezone's $100, and then there's an additional fee per sheet. Does that even come close to paying for the service, if you will? I mean, that seems very low cost. Do we have any data on what other communities charge?
I don't think that's a community development fee that you're referencing. Ours isn't per sheet.
It says rezone,
Where?
so I thought it was you guys.
Yeah, do you have a page number by chance?
For the planned unit development
Yeah,
one, that one's $750, but then the rezone plan review fee is $100.
Jeremy, I think.
So
that
it's
might
kind
be
of like, well, if you come in with a PUD rezone, where does that put you?
Here's Public Works.
Down next page.
Yeah.
Right there.
So that rezone plan review fee right there.
Uh-huh.
We don't. It's not something we do very often, and it's a very quick review. Obviously, they handle everything zoning. We're doing a 1-hour glance to make sure that the majority of our construction
So this
standards
is the
have been
Public
represented.
Works.
That's a Public Works fee. So there's
Review.
2 different schedules there.
Right.
Kevin and
Okay,
Economic Development.
that's not clear on here, so that's what's
It
confusing
is. If
me.
you scroll up at the top, you see there's a Public Works title. And then the next page is mine as well, and then the 2 above those are at Community Development.
Oh, I gotcha, okay.
Yeah.
I don't have my reader.
That's all.
Try my best.
Other questions? Seeing none, we'll take this up again on December 19th. Thank you, Tammy. On to ordinance 19-66, the amendment to the 2020 salary ordinance, non-elected. Cindy?
Yeah, this is an introduction tonight for an amendment to the non-elected salary ordinance. There were two staff max salary amount changes that needed to be corrected, and I went over these changes with Todd, and I spoke to Dr. Keene and Jim Ake on these before these changes, and this will be up for adoption on 12/19.
So if anybody has any questions about this, just contact Cindy, but she did meet with Joe and myself on this, and with Deputy Mayor. Was just oversights the original adoption, so we just need to make the changes if we want to. So this will also come back up on the 19th. Next item, Resolution 19-136, approving Plan Commission order on Union Square allocation area. Brian?
Yes, at the last meeting of the APC, they approved an order for the development of the Union Square allocation area. And this is required because the Redevelopment Commission created a sub-allocation area, which started the process that you're familiar with. It has to go from there, after their preliminary resolution, to the Plan Commission to make sure it complies with the comp plan. The APC decided that it had, sent the order for you to review, and if you concur, we're requesting that you approve the order.
Okay, so I need a motion on Resolution 19-136. Do I have one?
Move to approve Resolution 19-136.
Motion by Steve Hoover to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Chuck Lehman. Discussion. No discussion? Please, clerk, please call the roll.
Mark Keane,
Yes?
Cindy Spalgeri,
Yes.
Chuck Lehman,
Yes.
Bob Forte,
Yes.
Joe Edwards.
Yes.
Steve Hoover.
Yes.
Motion carries 6-0.
Okay, and on to the last item of business, ordinance 19-1-67, the bond ordinance on the Union Square allocation area. Brian?
Actually, that'll be Jim, if he's still here.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Jim's still here.
All right.
Jim Crawford, Craig DeVault, serving as bond counsel for this matter. The Westfield Economic Development Commission met earlier this evening and recommended this form of ordinance to you. The ordinance is a companion to what you just heard, the creation of the Union Square suballocation area. Under this ordinance, the city would issue economic development revenue bonds. As you know, these are not a general obligation of the city. The city doesn't use any funds to repay those. The purchaser of the bonds is looking solely to the project or to whatever income stream is pledged to the repayment of those bonds. The maximum amount of bonds that could be issued under this ordinance is $6 million. The maximum term would be 25 years. The maximum interest rate is 8%. The developer of the Union Square project will purchase these bonds, and so, and the only revenue stream that is pledged to repayment of the bonds is the TIF increment that is generated by the Union Square project. And that, only 75% of that increment is pledged to repayment of the bonds. 25% would go to the Redevelopment Commission, which could use it for projects or pass it through to the taxing units. This is just an introduction this evening. Justin Moffett is here if you wanted to hear about specifics on the project and cost. But by doing it this way with the developer buying the bonds or a related party, the onus is on the developer to get the project out of the ground as quickly as possible to maximize the assessed valuation on that. If they don't do that and the bonds are not able to be repaid, it doesn't affect the city's credit rating. The rating agencies know how these bonds work. It's not a default, and the burden then is on the developer to equal what the difference is. Be happy to answer any questions.
Are there any questions?
I would speak in support of this project. We're getting very little property tax money out of this area right now, and we stand to get about $150,000 a year when it is out of the ground. And so that sure beats $10,000. And if there ever was a redevelopment project in Westfield, this is it, in my opinion, I should say.
I think we've done something similar to this too out of Wheeler's PUD.
It's similar, yeah, and I might add that the statute requires the Economic Development Commission to hold a public hearing after giving notice in the newspapers. That was done. No one showed up to the public hearing to speak against the project this evening.
Okay, again, this is an introduction tonight, we'll take
I have a
action on it.
question.
Okay,
I'm
I'm sorry,
sorry.
Cindy.
It says 2 copies of the financing documents incorporated into the bond ordinance. I didn't see those financing documents.
They will be placed on file prior to, actually, they could be placed on file tomorrow. The statute requires them to be placed on file prior to the final adoption of the ordinance.
Okay, because I haven't had a chance to see those.
Okay, it's the trust indenture and the financing agreement. I'll file those with the clerk tomorrow.
Okay.
No, not me, county.
Well, it says you have to have them in your office.
That's
Oh,
what,
I do?
that's what the statute says.
Well, I've not done that one before. Okay.
One thing about this, the developer has a pretty good track record of doing this sort of thing, and I think we're hitched up in the right way.
Okay. Then on to the 19th with the ordinance 19-67. Next item is guest comments. Were there any cards turned in?
There were not.
No cards, Kevin. Thank you very much. So we have no response to those comments. So we'll move on to city council comments.
Give an update on the December 2nd Advisory Plan Commission meeting. The Plan Commission approved the Grassy Branch Marketplace detailed development plan for a commercial inline tenant building on 4.16 acres. The Maple Knoll PUD Amendment 4, which was the Meyer, was approved by the Plan Commission. That, we had sent that one back to Plan Commission at our last meeting, and they did approve that, so that meant that was approved. The Meyer should be moving forward. The Grand Junction EDA Amendment, which we just acted on, was approved by the APC. We held public hearings on several items: Atwater, overall development plan, and secondary plat. Also on Orchard View, same documents, and that one was actually approved at that meeting. The Lynx PUD held its public hearing. There were a couple of people spoke at that, and they'll be getting some answers back to them on several things. And then the last item was the Monon Hills PUD Amendment 1, which we acted on earlier this evening, and that was also approved when no one from the public spoke. That was it.
Other council comments?
Just real quickly, I was just leafing through my papers. I have a copy of the financing agreement for Ms. Boljeric if she wants it.
I just sent them to her. I just sent them to her, too.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mark. Believe it or not, this past weekend was not only a very successful Westfield and Lights. We did once again. Angie Smitherman and her crew did a fantastic job. Weather was nice, but at the same weekend was also the last outdoor mass activities at Grant Park. So it's kind of ironic. Here it is in the middle of December and we're still outside activities at Grant Park with a soccer tournament. So the park will now, on the grass anyway, go to sleep for till about April. But of course, the indoor activity is picking up greatly. And we actually see on the turf, the artificial turf on both sides of the park, we'll actually see activity all winter long. So it's ironic, Christmas lights, and we're still playing out at Grand Park. We had a great announcement later last week on a gift of 45 new AED devices that will be placed in every one of our patrol cars here in the city. And that has been through a very generous gift for the nonprofit Bolt for the Heart organization that I understand does a Thanksgiving running. Is that what they, right? Which I would never see, but you do, right, Vicki? Yeah, that and IU Health. Great benefit to our citizens. You know, just a couple weeks before that, we also initiated the Pulse Point app that we have now, working with Riverview Hospital, where our citizens that are trained in CPR can register with this device, and when a 911 call comes in for cardiac arrest, that citizen who may be able to be the first on the scene is notified via your iPhone and would be grateful, that person lying there, I'm sure would be grateful if you would respond. And so these two things that we're putting together, again, just part of our Safe City campaign, and we so much appreciate the IU Health and Bolt for the Heart people for taking a great interest in our city. And lastly, I was visited last Friday by our U.S. Senator, Todd Young. He had had some discussions with some of our people when he was here for Colts Camp. Somehow the conversation turned to our youth assistance program, and he was very, very interested in that. And he came by to learn more about it and also inform us that he had just passed some new legislation federally that encourages the private sector to back these kind of volunteer type of programs, such as our youth assistance program. It encourages the private sector to donate through some form of credits and so on that the federal government offers. So I'm very excited to look into that kind of funding. As you know, I'm not really looking for federal funding at all, but this is just private sector funding encouraged by the federal government. That I can handle. So that's where we are on December 9th.
We do have a meeting on the 19th. I believe it's at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, 3 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the afternoon that day, because we just have a couple minor things to take care of and clean up. This is the last big meeting of the year, so thanks to everybody who has worked this hard year. And I will say to the people in the audience and those who may tune in, the amount of work that the people on the city council do is incredible, and I appreciate all of the hard work that you have done over the years. And there are 5 people leaving the council, and I think I kind of counted, for a very young city, from an experience standpoint, there's probably over 40 years of experience that will be leaving the board. So it's a lot of the council, it's a lot of institutional knowledge leaving. But thank you all to your hard work during 2019. We do have, again, a little short meeting in a couple weeks, but the big stuff is behind us now. So thank you all very, very much. Appreciate it. With that, I need a motion for adjournment. So moved. Cindy Spillier moves. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. We are adjourned.